Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate the comments from the senator from California, and I see that. You know, she is on the floor today with Senator Inhofe, two unlikely peas in a pod, one pretty liberal, one pretty conservative, very different on views. They're both on the floor right now, and they both came to the floor to talk about job creation, about infrastructure, about building highways and bridges and public transit and all that, and job creation. And then, as so often is the case, people on the other side so often want to change the subject. In my state, the elections 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, were all about lost jobs, about lost manufacturing jobs that frankly accelerated during the Bush years, and we finally turned that manufacturing job loss around. We've seen 20 straight months of job increase in manufacturing. But the legislature in Columbus, my state capital, and the governor, what are they doing? They're not fighting for job creation. They're going after worker rights. They're going after women's rights. Something called the heartbeat bill is pretty extreme. They're going after voter rights instead of focusing on job creation. That's what I came to the floor to do too today, not specifically on this bill, but another kind of infrastructure bill, which I'll get to in a moment. But what else that the comments that I heard from Senator Barrasso only near the end of his discussion was that they wanted to repeal the health care law. How do they tell a 23-year-old who now is on her mother's insurance, 23-year-old that's got a job but doesn't have insurance, that she's going to lose her insurance that she's on with her mother, or because her mother has insurance plan, she's going to be thrown off her insurance? How are they going to explain to the family they have a child with a pre-existing condition that now can get insurance when the insurance company denied it before? How are they going to explain it to the Medicare retiree, the 72-year-old woman on Medicare who now gets no copay, no deductible, free screenings for osteoporosis, or the man that gets prostate screenings? How are they going to explain that? They want to repeal that. How are they going to explain the fact that they want to repeal one of the most insidious They want to repeal our stopping one of the most insidious insurance company practices, that if you get too sick and you're too expensive, insurance companies just cut you off. They want to repeal that prohibition. I guess it's because they want to do the insurance companies' bidding over and over and over again. That's a big part of their game. But it just breaks my heart when I see the progress we've made, the millions of Americans now that will have health insurance. And I know that, Senator, my colleagues, everybody in this body has good health insurance. People in this body are generally pretty affluent. People in this body have good government insurance. But they don't want millions of men and women in our country, people who have lost jobs, people who are working without insurance. They don't want them to have insurance, all for some political gain of repealing Obamacare. It's too bad. I want to focus on job creation. That's why, Madam President, I want to make some remarks on some legislation I introduced today that's not directly Senator Boxer's and Senator Inhofe's highway bill, but it's about water and sewer systems and infrastructure. Earlier today, I was on a call with Tony Parrott, Executive Director of the Metropolitan Sewer District in Cincinnati. We talked about how communities in Ohio are struggling to afford the necessary upgrades to improve sewer systems. In parts of the state with something called combined sewer systems, every time there are heavy rains, waste in stormwater overflows, the sewers overflow, the water's dumped into our rivers and our creeks and our lakes. The Environmental Protection Agency estimates that 800 billion gallons of untreated water, wastewater, and stormwater from these combined sewage overflow, these combined sewer systems, are released into our rivers, lakes, and streams each year. It poses a threat to public health and the environment. It undermines the competitiveness of our businesses. So not only does building these water and sewer systems and upgrades create jobs, but we also know if we don't, that local businesses aren't going to expand. If they are not certain they're going to have good, clean water available and at a decent cost, at a reasonable cost, they're not going to expand their businesses, especially if it's manufacturing. The cost of addressing these combined sewage overflow systems in Ohio is some $6 billion, according to the EPA, $1 billion in Northeast Ohio, the Cleveland area, $2 billion in Southwest Ohio, the Cincinnati area. So that's why today, Mr. President, because there are 81 Ohio communities requiring water infrastructure improvements, I'm reintroducing the Clean Water Affordability Act, a couple of previous Congresses, I introduced this legislation with my Republican colleague from Ohio, Senator Voinovich. It'll protect local ratepayers. It'll lead to cleaner water. It'll promote economic development. It would invest $1.8 billion to be distributed over the next 5 years through a grant program for financially distressed communities administered by EPA Administrator Jackson. I've spoken to her conveying the concern of Ohio's CSO communities. The program provides a 75-25 cost share, similar to what we've done on highway issues in the past. 75% federal government costs, 25% local government costs. It's estimated that every $1 billion invested in infrastructure, similar to the highway bill that Senators Inhofe and Box are working on, that for every $1 billion invested, upwards of 20,000 jobs would be created. It would promote green infrastructure. Cities like Bucyrus or Steubenville should be encouraged to use green infrastructure if it costs less than traditional construction and produces the same environmental benefits. I will continue to work with mayors like Dave Berger in Lima and Bob Armstrong in Defiance and county commissioners and others who have explained to me how years of reduced infrastructure investments have eroded their water and sewer systems. Closing, Mr. President, the United States, when we were kids, in the 1950s and 60s and 70s and into the 80s, the United States infrastructure was the envy of the world, whether it was the interstate system, whether it was the federal, state, local partnerships on water and sewer systems, whether it was the building of community colleges and the beginnings of technology and wiring for our telecommunication systems in the 50s and 60s and 70s. We were the envy of the world. Today, because so many in this government think that that we need to cut spending at all costs on everything, we simply haven't kept up with the infrastructure. It's why countries like China, who are investing so much money in infrastructure, we have a risk of their passing us by in manufacturing all the things that we care about that build a solid middle class. This legislation is an economic development imperative. This legislation is an imperative for citizens of our country having clean drinking water, safe drinking water, a predictable access to water at a reasonable cost. It's important for our families. It's important for our communities. It's important for business development. It's important for a strong middle-class manufacturing country, which we still are. I ask my colleagues to support this important legislation I'm introducing today. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor and suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Kaka.